Imagine traveling for weeks across ancient Greece just to ask one question. That's exactly what people did more than 2,500 years ago. Before I visited Delphi, I knew it was famous. What I didn't understand was why people believed this mountainside was one of the most sacred places on Earth. Let's walk up the same paths they walked and find out why. Delphi wasn't chosen by accident. It's nestled high on the slopes of Mount Parnassus. This was a place where the landscape itself inspired a sense of mystery. Even today, it's easy to understand why people believed this mountain was different. But people didn't come here simply to admire the scenery. They came because they believed they could leave with something far more valuable: an answer. Imagine making this journey without knowing what answer you would receive, or whether you even like it once you heard it. Every step brought visitors closer to the heart of Delphi, the sanctuary of Apollo. This was the destination they'd travel so far to reach. To the ancient Greeks, this wasn't simply another sanctuary. They believed Delphi marked the very center of the world. According to Greek mythology, Zeus released two eagles from opposite ends of the earth. They flew toward one another, and where they finally met became the Omphalos, the navel of the world. Whether you see it as mythology, symbolism, or something more, it's easy to understand why generations of people believed this place was like any other. And that raises an even bigger question. Why did they believe the gods spoke here? Imagine making this journey without knowing what answer you'd receive, or whether you'd like it once you heard it. Every step brought visitors farther from everyday life and closer to a place they believed connected heaven and earth. This path is known as the Sacred Way. Every visitor, whether a farmer, a soldier, a king, or an ambassador, made the same climb. With every turn, anticipation grew. The destination was near.
The navel, the belly button. So this is one rock.
Imagine seeing these buildings for the very first time after weeks of travel. This wasn't simply an impressive collection of temples. To those who came here, this was sacred ground.
Oh, here we go with wall-to-wall people. You can't even see anything. Not fun with a group.
Somewhere ahead awaited the oracle of Apollo.
This is just very frustrating. There's just too many people in too small a place.
People crossed mountains and seas for the chance to ask a single question. The answer they received could influence marriages, wars, colonies, and the fate of entire cities.
All right, so this is very interesting how these are fit together. So here's the Greek Antiquities Police. If you sit or stand anywhere, you get yelled at by these people. They're very strict. So don't even sit in the shade because you will get yelled at. Don't stand. Don't step over the rope. Who knows what will happen if you do that.
As we continue climbing, it's worth remembering that every monument here tells part of Delphi's story. Some celebrate faith, others celebrate victory. Together, they remind us that this sanctuary stood at the crossroads of religion, politics, and the ancient Greek world.
I'll go get you a hold of the water.
So looking at this wall, it's really hard to tell if this is modern, if this is ancient. You can see how tight this is. Comes to here. And I want you to look at something. Notice there's writing in here. You can see it here really good. It's just this one stone. It's not everywhere, but it's hiding in plain view. You can see the lettering right here. It's like part of a broken tablet. And just to see, there's none around it. And it's a different rock here. So I'm gonna say this wall was built after.
Because it's focusing on the foreground. Look.
One of the most remarkable monuments once standing here was the bronze serpent column. It wasn't placed here simply as decoration. It commemorated one of the greatest victories in Greek history. After the Greek city-states united to defeat the invading Persian army at the Battle of Plataea in 479 BC, they dedicated this monument to Apollo in thanksgiving. Although the original column now stands in Istanbul, this is where it first greeted pilgrims arriving at Delphi. It served as a reminder that this sanctuary wasn't only a place of prophecy, it was also a place where history was remembered.
Again, the erosion in the years, just 500 years, tore this place up pretty bad for erosion. So there's not a whole lot left. You can see some writing in here. This had to be incredible back in the day. This is the Apollo.
At the heart of Delphi stood the Temple of Apollo. This was the destination pilgrims had traveled so far to reach. Somewhere within these walls, they believed the god Apollo spoke through his priestess, the Pythia.
Sitting right underneath the Apollo.
Imagine finally standing here after weeks of travel. You may have come seeking guidance, reassurance, or perhaps the answer to a question that could change your life. This was the moment everything had been leading toward.
And look at the size of this lifter. It was never chipped off. It's a giant Lego block. And if you like crowds, this is good. If you don't like crowds, you will not enjoy it. So much is missing.
The ceremonies performed here were like anything most visitors had ever experienced. After a series of rituals and purification, the Pythia would enter the temple and deliver Apollo's response to those seeking advice. Her words would later be interpreted and presented to the visitors waiting outside.
There's some interesting pieces. Oh, seen better days. The erosion again, 500 extra years. This looks like column parts, unfinished column parts.
It's melted.
It does look melted. Mud wasps.
What actually happened inside the temple remains one of Delphi's greatest mysteries. Some modern researchers believe natural gases rising through the fractures in the rock may have contributed to the Pythia's prophetic state. Others argue the evidence points in different directions. More than 2,000 years later, historians and archaeologists are still debating exactly what happened here.
There's a very cool, I'm going to say a base. Most likely this is on its side. All right, we're going to go up to the theater, up that way. Let's go.
These stones have witnessed thousands of visitors, kings, generals, philosophers, and ordinary people, all arriving at the same hope that somewhere within this sanctuary they would find an answer. This wasn't an isolated monument. It was a living sanctuary. Pilgrims arrived, priests performed sacred rituals, musicians competed, actors performed, and thousands of people passed through these very paths.
There's the theater that, of course, we can't go into. This one is too old. And a very different type of theater.
Imagine taking your seat here more than 2,000 years ago. Behind you rose Mount Parnassus. Before you stood the Temple of Apollo. Beyond it stretched the valley below. Few theaters in the ancient world could match this setting. After weeks of travel, this view would have confirmed you had arrived somewhere unlike anywhere else in the Greek world. The higher you climb, the more Delphi begins to reveal itself. From above, you can finally appreciate how carefully the sanctuary was woven into the mountainside. From here, it's easy to understand why the ancient Greeks believed this place was extraordinary. The temple, the theater, the mountains, and the valley below all become part of a single breathtaking landscape.
To get here, you have steps and incline. I think that might be an arena way out here. Gotta check Google Earth. So while we're standing here enjoying the macro, let's go into the micro.
Delphi wasn't built to dominate nature. It was built to become part of it. Every terrace, every staircase, every temple seems to grow naturally from the mountain itself.
So anything we see in Turkey is so much newer, even though it's only 2,000 years old. This is definitely older.
Imagine standing here as a pilgrim, seeing all of this for the first time. After weeks of travel, this view would have confirmed you had arrived somewhere unlike anywhere else in the Greek world.
I can hear you.
Beautiful. So many paths blocked off. Greece definitely doesn't want you going places. The amount of people here, it would be down to dust within a matter of months, not even years. So you can't blame them. Let's see what's up this way. I don't think there's anything up here except massive concertina wall. That is some heavy duty dinosaur looking fence. Oh my gosh. Beautiful scenery though. Alright, so I'm wondering why such heavy duty fence. Look at the size of the wiring. Is there dinosaurs back here? There's certainly something they don't want. Maybe it's to catch rocks actually. That's my thinking. But it sure looks like dinosaur fence. Alright, let's keep going up and see what else we find. So my guess is that this is the springs that are feeding down. You can see the birds nesting. Oh, there is the spring right there. I heard it. That's cool. There's a stadium, but I don't think we're allowed up in here. And if I go on the rocks, I'll certainly get yelled at. Alright, we're gonna take a chance getting yelled at or not. I'm not gonna go past it. But there's the arena that you can't go in. And that looks like the gates here, and they would have gone probably up through here and down through the gates there. And we're not going to go down this way because we're out of time. We have to go back down.
Walking through the archaeological site is one experience, but walking into the museum is another. Here, the people of Delphi begin to come back to life, not through runes, but through the objects they left behind. These bronze figures may seem small today, but each one represented a personal act of devotion. Every helmet, every figurine, every offering tells the story of someone who came here believing Apollo was listening. Faith wasn't separated from daily life. It was woven into it. These carved friezes were much more than decoration. They told stories every visitor would have recognized. Heroes, gods, great battles, and timeless struggles between order and chaos. Every carving carried meaning for the people who stood beneath it. At first glance, these may look like broken pieces of stone, but every fragment helps archaeologists rebuild a much larger story. Sometimes history survives, one piece at a time. Delphi wasn't built by magic. Behind every monument stood skilled craftsmen, stone carvers, bronze workers, goldsmiths, painters, artists whose names have been lost, but whose work continues to inspire us today.
Because he had a very negative prediction. He was so mad, he got down to Pythia's underground chamber, took away the tripod where we believe it was like a form of a stool of Pythia, where Pythia was standing above the gas. And look, we have Apollo and Artemis trying to take back Pythia's stool, and from the other side it was Hercules, and in the middle, we found it. The statue of the Sphinx was colored. The frieze here was all colored. Look, that's why you see the traces of the red color. Very reddish color. Now, let me continue on this side. This is all part of the temple. Back you see the back of the god against the giant. We call gigantomachy. Giant. But look, we don't have a disproportion of bodies here because that's a frieze. We don't have the giant like that and the god like this. We have pretty much the same size.
Some of the most remarkable treasures discovered here were fashioned from gold and ivory. These luxury offerings reflected both extraordinary craftsmanship and extraordinary devotion. They weren't simply displays of wealth. They were gifts offered to Apollo.
Bronze is a little bit closer to the gold. We don't have the original gold Savat anymore. And you agree with me, this is a little bit much more beautiful scene. And this is a little bit closer to classical period. It's not very pretty, but look a little bit much more advanced. You agree with me? This is very nice. I'm going to show you the photo. How it was the statue of a bull behind it. Silver, my God, they had a lot of silver. They had silver in Lorio, close to Gibson and Athens. They had silver in Sifnos. They had many places of silver. The gold was a problem. They gold imported from Egypt, Egyptian all the time. Now look at the photo of this.
One of the museum's most remarkable treasures is this nearly life-size silver bowl, built over a wooden core and covered with carefully shaped silver plates. It was an astonishing achievement of ancient metalworking. Imagine the skill, the patience, and the devotion required to create something like this over 25 centuries ago.
Why? Because if you drink too much of wine, you remember the same expression in Roman, Venus Veritas, is the wine reveals your inner truth. They want a little bit happy, a little bit in a good mood, a little bit faster of living for yourself. Not only Apollo, and not only the spirit of Dionysus, but look, Dionysus and Apollo like the arte.
这里边也都是在阿波罗周边里面各个城邦来献给阿波罗神庙的一些小的物品。这个就是火了，你看咱们现在奥运会举圣火，古代也有的，他们觉得火是一个非常神圣的。
Even the smallest details mattered. Look closely at the graceful floral carving. Ancient Greek architecture wasn't only about strength, it was also about beauty, balance, and harmony. If there's one masterpiece that captures the spirit of Delphi, it's this, the Charioteer of Delphi. Cast in bronze more than 2,400 years ago, it was dedicated to commemorate victory in the Pythian Games. But what makes it extraordinary isn't simply its age, and the remarkable realism achieved by an artist working centuries before the modern world.
He was tired, it was the hair. And you know what else I would like to point out? Like the eyes of Mona.
It's easy to understand why this has become one of the greatest surviving masterpieces of ancient Greek sculpture. Look into his eyes, his calm expression, his quiet confidence. The runes outside tell us where history happened. The museum reminds us who created it.